Welcome, everyone. This is Marynês Pereira's piece on leadership and neuroscience, and we're diving deep into why congruence, aligning what you think, feel, and do, is so crucial.
Yep. It's fascinating how she breaks down leadership into this internal battle, right? What really caught your attention?
Absolutely. The idea that our brain operates with two distinct systems, the fast emotional pilot automatic and the slower deliberate pilot conscious, really puts a spotlight on the so called paradox of leadership. I mean,
Mhm.
leaders who passionately promote innovation yet simultaneously block out of the box ideas.
Right, that disconnect is something many in the corporate world face. Like a CEO might advocate for creativity, but their everyday habits reveal something completely different.
Exactly, it's like our leaders are caught in this constant tug of war between instinct and reason. The pilot automatic, which handles about 95% of our decisions, is all about survival and habit. And sometimes it runs the show even when our conscious side has a grander vision.
Yeah, and it's not just about innovation, but also the depth of integrity. That gap between our actual actions and what we preach is what sows cynicism among teams, isn't it?
Exactly, and there's that striking example Marinus lays out, leaders advocating diversity yet ending up with, say, an 80% male succession career path. It really highlights that our
Yes.
brain's shortcuts, these unconscious biases, can betray even the best intentions.
Speaking of those shortcuts, I always find it intriguing that even when leaders believe wholeheartedly in meritocracy, the underlying automatic processes often default to familiar choices.
Right, it's like our mental wiring, built over decades of repetition, sort of takes over in the heat of the moment. And then you have decision fatigue coming into play. The pilot conscious, much like your phone battery, drains after too many choices.
Mm. Yes, that analogy of a depleting battery really paints the picture. A leader starting the day with full energy, but ending up with little to no cognitive reserve by closing time.
Exactly. And when that energy maxes out, the automatic impulsive system takes over. Think about the last time you or a leader reacted harshly in a crisis because there wasn't time to actually reflect or reconsider.
Uh huh. So, if I'm following correctly, it's not about being a so called hypocrite, but about recognizing this constant internal battle that every leader faces, right?
Precisely. And Marinez argues that these lapses are less about bad character and more about the biological limitations of our brain setup.
Yeah. I do wonder though, is it really as simple as just acknowledging these two systems? Or can leaders effectively change this predisposition?
Great question. Marinus actually addresses that by leaning into the science of neuroplasticity, the amazing ability of our brain to rewire itself. It's not about shrugging off our instincts. It's about training that elefante, as Jonathan Haidt puts
Mm.
it, rather than battling it head on.
I love that analogy. The elephant representing the emotional brain and the driver being our rational side. But I still think sometimes we may oversimplify the struggle here. Is it always feasible for a leader to pause and retrain their reflexes, especially in high stakes environments?
That's a fair challenge. Marinese does caution that it's extremely difficult and that it requires constant, deliberate effort. It's almost like insisting on a daily meditation session for your decision making process, which might not be a realistic expectation for everyone.
Right. True. And while the notion of taking a strategic pause is empowering, sometimes the momentum of daily business might undermine that ideal.
Exactly. But that's why she emphasizes training and repetition. Each pause and each deliberate act of resistance against the automatic habits becomes a step towards creating a more congruent leadership style.
Yep. And with time, those small, consistent choices, despite being effortful, build a much stronger foundation. It's like forging a habit, one day at a time.
Yeah, and it all boils down to integrity. When leaders align their deepest values with their everyday actions, they not only mitigate that internal conflict, but also build
Mm.
trust and inspire their teams.
It's pretty transformative when you think of it that way. Leaders move from being merely figureheads to actually embodying the values they promote.
Exactly. And Marinès makes it clear that this kind of self regulation isn't innate, It's crafted through a process of self-awareness and rigorous practice. It's definitely not for the faint-hearted.
Right. And on that note, does she provide actionable techniques for leaders, or is it more of a conceptual framework?
Oh, she definitely gives us actionable strategies. One powerful tactic she highlights is the strategic pause between a stimulus and the reaction. Instead of immediately reacting in a heated meeting or under crisis, a leader can take a moment, perhaps grabbing a coffee or simply breathing deeply, to let the pilot conscious re-engage before a decision is taken.
That's brilliant because it not only prevents impulsive reactions, but also conserves that finite cognitive energy for more important decisions.
Exactly. And then there's the concept of deliberate repetition, forming new neural pathways. Imagine you're trying to break an old habit. Initially, it's super hard because the brain defaults to what's familiar. But with enough repetition, the new behavior becomes the automatic route.
Yeah, it's like rewiring your mental software over time, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And what's really interesting is that this transformation is essential for leaders who want to have a lasting impact. When the congruence between thought, emotion, and action is achieved, it sets the foundation not just for success, but for legacy.
Mm. That idea of legacy through integrity really resonates. It's about more than just short term wins, it's about building a culture that stands the test of time.
Exactly. And Marynês Pereira's work really underscores the notion that our biggest leadership challenges are deeply rooted in the brain. The battle between the fast emotional responses and our slower, more thoughtful ones is constant.
Yep. It makes you wonder how many of our workplace conflicts are just manifestations of this internal struggle, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And recognizing that can lead to more empathy and better coaching. It's like understanding that when a leader makes a poor decision, it might be less about a failing of character and more about the limitations of human biology and cognitive
Right.
fatigue.
It really shifts the narrative away from blame to one of growth and training, which is much more constructive in the long run.
Exactly. And before we wrap up, let's give credit where it's due. Marynês Pereira, who has over 40 years of experience in the corporate arena and neurobusiness, brings these insights to life in her article O cérebro oculto do líder, porque a congruência é a competência mais difícil e poderosa. Her work not only sheds light on the internal battles leaders face, but also charts a path towards more congruent and effective leadership.
Mm. I love how this approach acknowledges our human limits while empowering us to work within and even overcome them with deliberate strategies.
Absolutely. By understanding the interplay between the emotional and the rational parts of our brain, leaders can evolve their approach to decision making, reduce cognitive fatigue, and ultimately become more aligned practitioners of their proclaimed values.
Yep, this perspective really adds a whole new layer to leadership training discussions, encouraging continuous personal development rather than a fixed mindset.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that effective leadership is a journey, a series of small, deliberate choices that build toward a more integrated, authentic leadership style. With that, we extend our thanks to Marynês Pereira for her profound insights on neurobusiness and leadership.
Yes, indeed. Huge credit to Marynês Pereira for her brilliant work. It's been enlightening peeling back the layers of our own cognitive biases and understanding what truly crafts the leader we aspire to be.
Well said. And for those tuning in, remember to recognize the power of congruence in leadership and the continuous effort it takes to align our inner drivers with our outward actions. This conversation is dedicated to that journey.
Thanks for joining us today as we explored these transformative ideas. Till next time, keep training that mind and leading with integrity.